And please welcome to the stage the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce President and CEO, Julian Cañete.
Good morning and welcome everybody to the inaugural California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce LGBTQ plus Business Awards. The CHEC currently has over 105 Hispanic chambers, diverse business associations, and community-based organizations as our membership. Beyond servicing small businesses, the CHEC is also engaged in serving low-income populations, senior citizens, disabled populations, geographically isolated populations, California's diverse communities, and of course, the LGBTQ plus community. The objective of the LGBTQ plus business initiatives focuses on promoting an inclusive ecosystem here at the California Hispanic Chambers and with our member chamber and organizations throughout the state. Through this regional collaboration, we are able to maximize resources and leadership and business development programs for and including the LGBTQ plus community. I am proud and thankful for the leadership of our California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce and California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce Foundation Board of Directors for their commitment to the LGBT plus community and this initiative. I would also like to take this time to congratulate all of our award recipients, deserving award recipients from throughout the state. And finally, I would like to thank our Southern Region Chair, Mike Limon, and our Central Region Associate Director, Carlos Mendoza, for their leadership in spearheading this initiative. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce Southern Region Chair, Mike Limon. Mike?
Thank you, Mike. This initiative has been a labor of love, and I'm thankful for the CHCC and the CHCC Foundation Board for their leadership.
Thank you, Julian. On behalf of the CHCC Board of Directors, I welcome you all to the first ever CHCC LGBTQ plus Business Awards. As an initiative of the CHCC Foundation, the CHCC LGBTQ plus initiative advances common business interests, economic growth, and equality in the workplace for its LGBTQ plus members, businesses, and allies by providing resources and opportunities. The CHCC commits and continues to build bridges between our regional Hispanic chambers, affiliates, and the regional LGBTQ plus chambers or business associations. The CHCC LGBTQ plus Business Awards pays tributes to the achievements and advancements that have made measurable impact on the economic development of our Hispanic communities. I would like to welcome CHCC. I would like to now welcome CHCC LGBTQ plus initiative co-chair Carlos Mendoza.
Thank you, Mike. This initiative has been a labor of love, and I'm thankful for the CHCC and the CHCC Foundation Board for their leadership in ensuring that our organizations commit and continue to build bridges between our regional Hispanic chambers, affiliates, and the regional LGBTQ plus chambers or business associations. Most importantly, to provide equity, resources, and inclusion into our statewide programming events to advance the interests of diverse small and Hispanic-owned businesses throughout California. We pride ourselves through the partnerships and statewide collaborations from throughout the nation, most importantly, with organizations that are spearheading business interests and economic growth. I would like to introduce Build Out California, the world's first LGBT industry association dedicated to the sustainable growth of LGBT-owned and certified businesses and our allies in the fields of architecture, engineering, construction, services, real estate development, and related industries. Please welcome our dear friends and leadership from Build Out California, Paul Pendergast and Nicholas Colina.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for that wonderful, warm introduction. And we love historic firsts, and we are so proud to be a part of this inaugural event put on by the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. But I want to say that our relationship with the Hispanic Chambers of Commerce goes back 15 years. Working on important matters which are put forward in front of us from different California and local municipalities and so forth. And in the last 5 years, we've really begun to really dig deep into those relationships. And we're so proud to work with Julian and his team. And in 2018, we really did a wonderful event in San Francisco with the San Francisco's Golden Gate Business Association, where we honored and celebrated the remarkable efforts of Juan Novello. And he was a remarkable speaker. He inspired the entire audience, and it really helped to further develop that relationship. Julian and I actually get to work on the statewide level with the governor's office, with legislators on so many important issues that are important to us as Californians, as small business owners and entrepreneurs. Those issues such as coming out of the pandemic, working on the PPP loan programs, technical assistance, training efforts, and really importantly, making sure that we represent the needs of all California small businesses. And what's really important, what I really love about our effort today here, it really symbolizes why California is so forward thinking. And as they always say, as California goes, then so goes the rest of the nation. Julian and I get to work with our colleagues throughout California with the American Indian Chambers of Commerce, the Asian American Chambers, the Black Chambers of Commerce, and of course the LGBT chambers, of which there are 7 here in California, in addition to our statewide Build Out California. When Michelle and Julian invited us to participate today, the first thing we did was say, hey, we need to actually find a perfect representative that could really speak to the value of our relationship. And the perfect person we knew right away was Nick Colina. So Nick, can you take it away and talk about why it's so important today?
Thank you, Paul. And I wanted to underscore Paul's comments about being honored to be a part of California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce historic event today. As someone who is a part of both the Latino community and the LGBTQ plus community, an event today gives me great hope for the future. And it makes me very proud that our communities are working together. I serve as the Director of Operations for Anko Iron and Construction, Inc., which is a 3rd-generation family-owned business located in San Francisco. My grandfather immigrated from Mexico and started Anko Iron, which specializes in steel fabrication, installation, and steel supply in 1969. And as the business evolved, we've now been a part of some of the most iconic buildings in San Francisco, including the Chase Center, where our Warriors play, as well as SFO. As all of us know in the Latino community, family is incredibly important. And in addition to working with my father, Hector Colina, I'm also very lucky to be joined by my sister, Danny, who is also part of the LGBTQ plus community. One day soon, Danny and I will be taking over ownership of the company, and we will be the only certified steel company in the United States that is LGBTQ plus and Latino owned. I think today's event is important on a number of levels. First, it marks a milestone in the fact that our communities are celebrating the best that our business communities have to offer. Secondly, as a Latino male in the steel construction industry, I can say that there have been challenges to being openly gay in business. While I've always been one to be proud of who I am, the construction industry as a whole is not traditionally known for its embrace of the minority and LGBTQ plus communities. I'm a strong advocate for the inclusion of our brothers and sisters in the Latino, African American, Asian American, and women-owned business communities. But it's just been in the last several years that LGBTQ plus businesses in construction have been added to the mix. The only way that we are going to make progress for our collective communities is by working together. I believe the California Hispanic Chamber and so many of your affiliates throughout California know this. In fact, we are leading the nation in collaboration, and it's because of the leadership from your board and that of Julian Cañete that we're breaking down barriers, creating new jobs, and building California up toward greater economic prosperity. I'll hand it back to Paul for his closing thoughts, but congratulations to all the honorees today, and of course, to the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for your commitment to making sure that all Californians have a place at the table. And lastly, I would like to thank, of course, my father and my mother, whom have always been supporters of my entrepreneurial career and have been a guiding light in my journey. And of course, my amazing partner, Matthew Borgman, who stood by my side for over 10 years. Ahorita es el tiempo de nosotros, el tiempo de Latino, el tiempo con pride. Aquí estamos. Paul?
Great. Well, thanks, Nick, and so well said. And let us underscore from the entire Build Out California family, number one, how we are glad to be here today. But secondly, congratulations to all those honorees. And I want to point out in particular our friend and colleague, Betty Owens. Betty, you are a tremendous inspiration to us. You are dedicated. You are just such a person who exemplifies so much of what we're all trying to do here. And, you know, for so many of us, this is a volunteer effort, but as entrepreneurs and small business owners, it's the inspiration that all of our honorees and everybody involved with our chambers and industry groups really bring forth the best and shine forth on this special day. And, you know, while I know June is Gay Pride Month, it's really something we should take throughout the whole year. So to the board, thank you for your leadership. Julian, Michelle, and all of your executive staff, it is hats off to you. Thank you for being a leader, and thank you for showing the rest of the United States how we can build back better than ever. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul and Nicholas, for your partnership and continued leadership to our community and equity for diverse businesses. As I listened to you both, I got a chance to think about the life that we've all lived together this last year over the pandemic, and the moments that we had before we went live today, and the chance we got to build relationships. What a fantastic opportunity to connect with you both. And thank you so much for the collaboration through this event and going into the future. I do want to take a moment to pause before we go, before we move forward, to pay respect for those that we've lost during the pandemic. So if you can join me 30 seconds. Thank you for participating with me in that moment. So today is about celebration. And so the CHCC LGBTQ plus Business Awards pays tribute to the achievements and advancements that have been made measurable, that have made measurable impact on the community development and economic development of our Hispanic communities. And like I mentioned earlier, today is the first step for us to launch our LGBTQ Business Plus initiative. And today we're taking the time to celebrate our honorees. Our 2021 awardees were nominated from the Central, Northern, Southern, and Inland Empire regions of California. Our awardees have sustained and maintained a positive impact within their communities while demonstrating inclusivity, equity, and community leadership amongst the pandemic that we went through together. To welcome the Southern Region awardee, please welcome Vice President of the Sacramento Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, Juan Novello.
Hi, Mike, and not Southern region, the Central region. No offense to you. But again, my name is Juan Novello, Vice President for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of my President and CEO and my board directors, I would like to thank the CHCC and the CHCC Foundation for their commitment to the LGBT plus community and for championing an inclusive economic agenda. It gives me a great honor to introduce the Central Region LGBT plus Business Award recipient. With over 25 years of broadcast experience, both in front and behind the camera, Jose Suarez has worked for television stations in Florida, Ohio, New Mexico, Texas, and before moving to our Golden State, California. Jose is currently the president and general manager of 3 Telemundo-owned stations serving Sacramento, Fresno, and Salt Lake City, Utah. Jose is known for creating compelling content and marketing campaigns for multiple platforms, and is a 5-time Emmy Award winner. Jose is also known for his mentoring efforts, recruiting and developing journalists, as well as growing his team into the future leaders in the industry. Jose serves as the second vice chair for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and will lead our organization in 2024. Please welcome Jose Suarez.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. I really do appreciate it. I have my award right here. A big honor to receive this as one of the first honorees in this very prestigious group this first year of these awards. I'd like to congratulate my fellow awardees. I can't wait to learn more about each and every one of you and the programs which you support and see how we can all support each other. I also would like to thank the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber. They are a wonderful support system here for me in getting me acclimated to my new home here in Sacramento, but also the great work that we're able to do together to support small businesses. I'm so thankful to work at a company like NBC Universal that their biggest requirement of me is for me to be myself. I have 2 mentors in particular, Yvette Miley and Manuel Martinez, which have been big supporters of my career. And again, they have always taught me to be myself in every situation, to lead with my heart and to lead with integrity. They've also made it very clear to me that it's not so much about my accomplishments, but they've led with their example that it's about the accomplishments of the people that we inspire, that we get to celebrate. There's a lot of talk this month about diversity, right? It's Pride Month, and it's a great month to celebrate the sacrifices that people made before us for us to be able to get to this moment where we could even have awards like this. But I'd like to challenge everyone that's listening, allies and all of us that are part of our community. It's important to just stop and listen to each other around us. It's important to allow ourselves to be inspired by and inspire people who don't necessarily look like us or have the same upbringings or have all the same ideas. That's where true diversity begins. I'm so excited of the work that we're all going to do together here in California to make a difference and to grow our businesses and really to grow a culture of diversity and acceptance for all. Thank you again so much. This is a big honor for me, and I represent my entire team here today. So thank you again.
Thank you, Jose, for the continued leadership and impact within the Hispanic and small business community. So moving from the central region now to the northern region. So the Northern Region LGBTQ plus awardee is no stranger to the diversity and inclusion space. Betty Owen currently serves as the board president of the Rainbow Chamber Silicon Valley, a post she held since just before shelter in place. As board president, Owen is committed to expanding the Chamber's diverse membership and developing educational and support programs for members both remotely and in person, and will continue to collaborate with other chambers locally, such as the Black, Hispanic, and Campbell chambers. And will work regionally through the Western Business Alliance of the LGBT chambers and nationally with the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Please help me in welcoming the board president of the Rainbow Chamber Silicon Valley, Betty Owen.
Thank you very much. I feel really honored to be in this august company of such accomplished people. I did want to make a few comments about our chamber. We started 21 years ago as at a time when chambers, gay business people weren't very well treated or supported, sometimes even by ourselves. We wanted to show that our businesses were deserving of respect. You didn't have to love us, but we wanted you to respect us and that we were capable of success. And we wanted to build each other up. And I think we also wanted to redefine the idea of the Chamber of Commerce as not a totally male, stodgy, white, conservative organization. And over the years, we've gone from lesbian and gay designation to LGBTQ plus. And when people ask me what the plus means, I say it means our wonderful allies, such as the local Hispanic chamber and such as the national, because we have many members who are not LGBTQ identified, but they do identify with our mission. We happen to be an all volunteer chamber. And so the value of collaboration has been quite natural for us. The one thing I really realized during COVID was we are only going to get through all these things if we work together. I wanted to do a little shout out for Dennis King, who's the local Hispanic chamber head. He has been a great help to me this past year as we served on various committees having to do with making sure the restaurant, getting restaurants so they could act outside, pushing back against some of the restrictions that seemed to hurt businesses. Anyway, I'd like to shout him out. We will, I'm losing my train of thought, I'm sorry. But again, I want to thank you. Oh, I have to show my award. I do appreciate it. We do plan many other collaborations, and I'm looking forward to hearing everything. And now that I know you, I will be calling on some of you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Betty, for your leadership in the Silicon Valley area, and then also, taking the time to acknowledge the diversity that our community is. Right, it doesn't matter if you're an ally or identify as gay, straight, etc. If folks just want to support our community, and yes, we will, be willing to raise our hand and support you in your region. So put us to work. All right. So with that, we are moving on to the Inland Empire area. So the Inland Empire region LGBTQ plus awardee created and continues to be a cornerstone within the community. The Imperial Valley LGBTQ plus Resource Center offers an array of services such as substance abuse, education and prevention, transgender support services, domestic violence classes, LGBT competency training, youth activities, support for loved ones of LGBTQ plus, mental illness support groups, HIV counseling, testing, and much more. In a short 5 years, the Imperial Valley LGBTQ plus Resource Center has become the cornerstone for the LGBTQ community of Imperial County. It serves more than 500 people annually. Wow, sounds like you guys are busy over there. Please help me welcome to the virtual stage the CEO of the Imperial Valley LGBT Resource Center, Rosa Diaz.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that this award was a big, big surprise to me. I wasn't expecting it, and I am honored to be a recipient, definitely with all these other great leaders. Just to tell you a little bit about how we got started in Imperial County, a rural area very close to the border of Mexico, a lot of agriculture. And even though San Diego is a neighbor about 120 miles, when I came out as a lesbian to my church, I really thought that it was time after 50 years, to be honest, and not knowing what would transpire after that, and having been taken away from my leadership position, and knowing that that was my life right there. I love doing ministry. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to find comfort or where to find friends after I wasn't shunned from the church. I was basically just stripped from my leadership positions. And I was so used to giving, I wanted to give back. Where do I give back? How do I give back? Who's going to even listen to me? So I started a Bible study for LGBT people because I thought I can't be the only one in Imperial County who's, who's coming out but still has very strong ties to their faith. And it was then that the Bible study started. But one thing that I didn't know is that Imperial County lacked services when it came to this population. People wanted support groups for transgender, artificial insemination, HIV testing without having to go through all the red tape. And I'm like, what? I was so oblivious because you don't know it's not there until you need it. And having a background in social work, I thought, you know what, I have to do something. But it started with what I knew, and that was giving back. And then from there, the need just pushed me to do more. Never in my radar was there the thought that I would be opening a center, but the need pushed me to it. And today we are serving hundreds of people, more people coming out as transgender or part of the community, and also advocating and searching and just doing what we can. And we can say that we've done a lot, but there's still a lot more to do. So this award right here is just another push, because now you're telling me you got to keep going. So I thank you. I appreciate it. And it's definitely something that is unforgettable. Thank you.
Felicidades, Rosa. And thank you for taking the time to be vulnerable with our audience today, and also, taking time to discuss, faith.
Thank you.
And myself, and I'm Catholic, and I've, found myself in challenging situations as well where you're conflicted with your faith, right? So thank you so much for taking time to acknowledge that. Y felicidades otra vez. So as we continue our statewide efforts, we understand that the impact of inclusive programming to ensure a thriving local, regional, and statewide economy is important. Most importantly, to ensure local communities continue to have equity and access to local resources. Rosa, we applaud you for your leadership in the Imperial Valley. So I wanted to just take a moment to thank you once again for your continued work in your area. All right, so now we are ready to go to the Southern region. My apologies on that, Juan. I believe we want to get you to move down to Southern California, but wishful thinking, right? So the Southern region LGBTQ plus awardee began his advocacy efforts on behalf of the LGBTQ plus Latino community in 1997, when he became an HIV prevention counselor at Bienestar Human Resources, and soon became the assistant to the executive director. During his tenure, he also was one of the founding board members of Latin Pride Los Angeles, where he volunteered for 3 years. In 2021, Tapi's Media continues to be the agency of record for Hispanic communications at Google and YouTube, helping to celebrate the contributions of US Latinos and immigrants to the United States and the world. Please help me welcome to the virtual stage, Daniel Morales of Tapi's Media Group.
Hello, everyone. It is really a pleasure to be here, and I accept this award not just on behalf of me, but on behalf of all the people who have helped me to get to this point, especially all my friends, most of them died from AIDS, who I truly need to honor, and they deserve my recognition. As a little boy, when I grew up in Mexico, I had to change my life, knowing that I was different. I came to the US, I came to California, I came to Los Angeles, and it's been an amazing experience to create something amazing in California, in this city. I became an AIDS activist out of necessity. And when I was in journalism, I went all over the country advocating for proper representation of LGBTQ Latinos in Spanish language newspapers. That was one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done in my life. However, when my partner passed away, I chose to channel all my energy into creating this amazing business and be successful in the business world. There's a lot of people that I need to thank about this. However, my best friend, Jose Chicotenco, with whom we got together and we created this amazing agency, and we went against big companies, we went against everybody in the world, and we landed the Google account. And it's been amazing for the last 6 years to actually celebrate the contributions of Latinos to the U.S. and to the world. But I really want to take time to recognize the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for doing this today. And just because when I was growing up, I never had a role model, and this is really for the children and everybody else who's different, everybody else who perhaps think that their difference make them a lesser person, but it's not. Their difference really could make them a much better successful business person, a family man or a family woman. And it's truly about being ourselves and succeeding in this world. So thank you for doing it, and thank you for the recognition. I love the award, and I'm really proud of everything we have accomplished today.
Awesome. Muchas gracias, Daniel. Felicidades, and we're looking forward to continuing our partnership and collaboration as the years come ahead of us. So with that, I think we're going to move on to the last segment of our program today. We just have a quick roundtable style round of questions, just a couple questions for you all. So Michelle, feel free to give me the thumbs up when we're ready to rock and roll. All right, great. And so this is the part of the segment really where we just talk a little bit about any final thoughts that each of the awardees have. And also, look into the future based on your seats in the communities that you impact. So I'm going to break up the prompt that I have into two questions. And so, how do you plan to advance equity for diverse communities? We'll start with Betty.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm looking forward to getting back out and having people together again. This will be a big help. One of the this is a very local thing, but normally in the fall, what we've had is an awards banquet ourselves, but we decided that we're flipping it around this year, and it will be a hiring. In other words, we will bring in businesses and bring in like an employee looking for work. We thought that might help both the businesses and people who are looking for work. And we definitely will be asking the other chambers to participate with us locally because we just see that as a big problem right now. People are saying they can't get employees. We go, well, we can help with that. So that's kind of an initiative we have for the fall. And then something else I forgot to mention, but I think something is a project we funded that is not specifically about business, but it is about the Hispanic LGBTQ community, is that we help to fund the, it's called Queer Silicon Valley. And it's an online site, and it's also going to be at the San Jose History Museum. And if you look at the site, there is a big segment about the Latin queer community and people who've made a big difference. And so we were really happy to fund that. It was kind of a, the specific group handling it is Baymet Community Foundation, but I am proud to say that I was one of the people who bugged them to do it. So, and then we committed to it. So I hope you all will take a look at that, especially the online part. Thank you.
Thanks, Betty. And you mentioned a very important topic that I think is getting a lot of buzz nationally, recruiting for open positions, right? I'm an executive director of a charter school here in Santana with about 80 employees, and it's been a little challenging to start recruiting for positions across the school, regardless of the post, whether it's a teacher or a custodian. And so I think that's a big need for us here in California, is to get people back to work, right? And then, the work that we all do together to ensure there's diversity, inclusion, representation. So yes, so keep me posted. If there's anything that pops up, we'd love to participate.
Great. Thank you.
To Jose with that same question, and I'll repeat it. How do you plan to advance equity for diverse communities as we move forward?
So I think as a broadcaster, we have the responsibility to really represent our community. I think in years past, whenever you talk about diversity with broadcasters, we need to have diverse anchor lineup, right? To be able to show our community. I think it actually goes beyond that. I think it goes, and it's a very important role, and you just touched on recruiting, right? So you have to have a diverse group of people that are making the decisions behind the scenes, so that we make sure that in every decision that we're making, editorial decision, community decision, outreach decision, that we are actually representing our community. Then our other responsibility is to our journalists. And that is to make sure that when we are out getting interviews, when we are out showing faces, when we're out meeting people, that we are resourcing different people that look different, that sound different, with different ideas, that we're not just going after the same people. That's where we're going to be able to start showing what our community is all about. And that's really what we have to show other people in order to empower them. So we have to empower people through our voices and through being able to demonstrate what's really going on in our community and telling those important stories.
Yeah, you're right. You know, the world is changing, right, with respect to diversity and inclusion, but how do we get there? I think that's the question of the century in my mind, right? Like, how do we ensure that our stakeholders, whether they're students, employees, community partners, feel welcomed and part of their community? And also, you know, how do you ensure that, for example, here at the school, we've got elementary and middle school. How do we ensure that the students that, you know, are confused about their gender or identity, how do we support their families as well, right? And for us, it's been a big challenge here, you know, with having, you know, decision makers really that have the institutional knowledge to be able to move things forward to ensure people feel included. So thank you, Jose. Rosa, I'm going to throw the question over to you. How do you plan to advance equity for diverse communities?
Our motto here at the center is building bridges. The LGBTQ community was for many, many years until recently hidden. Although we did know of certain gay judges and leaders, they weren't really out to the community because they didn't want that to affect their profession or their cases or their just their, you know, their jobs and whatever endeavor they were shooting for. And we've been talking more as leaders, thinking and also sharing how important it is to be out and proud, because there are youth who are in elementary school, junior high, high school, who need to see leaders such as myself and them, who need to understand that whatever their orientation, whatever their identity, that shouldn't keep them from reaching their dreams and their goals. We currently had two deaths, two crimes against transgender youth who are homeless. And in the past, when these crimes happened, there was very little publicity. And right now, I'm currently working with reporters, and I'm glad Jose is here, because their voice and their reporting on these crimes are very important to bring those stories to the surface and say, look, just because they are gay or part of this community doesn't mean that their life is any less. And we need to speak about it, and we need to honor them. So we hold vigils in honor of their names. We remember their names, and we bring it to the surface so they will not be forgotten, so that leadership in the professional setting, and then also in the homeless settings and the struggles will bring about, I believe, equity, in that we will be seeing more people standing up in favor of this community.
Yeah, and Rosa, your work is very important because it takes a village, right, to advocate and represent diverse people, right? And so thank you so much for continuing to do that, because it's not an easy job, but we all do, right, to ensure that we support our communities. So muchas gracias. Daniel, I'm going to throw this question over to you if you're ready. How do you plan to advance equity for diverse communities going forward?
You know, in the corporate world, or the places where I work, thankfully it's my job actually to do that thing every single day. So I think just being honest and being open and being proud of who you are can really go a long way when you're sitting at the table with the decision makers and you actually prove to them the value of diversity, the value of making sure that Latinos are represented, that LGBTQ people are represented as customers. And just this past month, when we were planning the Pride Month on YouTube, even though it's not my job, it was so rewarding to have them actually ask me about how I feel, what I think, and actually getting my opinion in a lot of the decisions. So thankfully it's my job to do that very thing every day. But I go back to what you guys said at the beginning, that we're having trouble recruiting diverse people to come to our teams. And at this very moment, it's one of the most difficult things to do.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see what the next few months hold for us with respect to recruiting. So Daniela and Jose, I know you both have access to communities at large, so I'm excited to see for any pieces that come up with respect to this topic. But I want to take a step back and just reflect individually on each of your stories. This question I don't think was given to you because it's just popping out of my head right now. But if you can share, each of you, a current challenge that you face in the workforce. I know we've come a long way, right? It's fantastic that we're all connected virtually, and the pandemic has put us in this platform, which it's great because I still get a chance to meet you. I've never met any of you before, so it's been a pleasure. But if you can open up a little bit and talk a little bit about your personal story with looking at 2021, and what challenge or challenges have you seen in the workforce? And we'll start with Betty again. And the reason I asked this question, I'm not sure the composition of the audience. We might have corporates out there, nonprofits, elected official representatives. So it'd be a good topic to discuss and unpack a little bit.
Well, it's interesting because there seems to be this push-pull in the community of, oh, I really want to get out, but I don't really want to get out. And I'm sure this is affecting employers. Up here, there's an Apple rebellion going on because they came up with a policy of having them come back to work 3 days a week, which I thought was kind of reasonable, but this has become a big issue. So I can see that. I think everybody's kind of scarred by what's gone on the last year and a half. And yeah, it was great. I actually personally embraced Zoom because, like you said, I could meet people, but a lot of people didn't really care for it. And yet, so I'm not sure yet what's going to be happening this next year. I'm just really, what we're trying to do is set up a series of outdoor activities for the summer to try to get them all out, and then we'll go from there in the fall. I don't know. I'd welcome any suggestions, but I do think there's a push-pull. I still see masks when I'm walking my dog, and I'm a half a block away from somebody and they're putting a mask on. I'm like, that's not necessary. So I don't know. I think that's going to be an interesting year. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I think we will be dealing perhaps more with emotions and sort of like overcoming the grief of the past year. So, I don't know. Throw it over to someone else and see what they have to say.
Thanks, Betty. That's a great perspective. I think you gave us a macro level perspective with respect to your personal story, which is a reality that we're all going to face depending on our positions, right? Getting folks back into the workforce, or if you're, like Paul mentioned, rebuilding California or your organization or your position, right? So that's a great point. Jose, any thoughts on a personal antidote with respect to challenges as being in the LGBTQ plus space?
So I think it's existing in any space, right? So I like to think that we're required to exist in all spaces. So it affects all of us, right? So I think one of my biggest assets and one of my favorite things that I get to do is connect with people, and I connect with people real well in person. Like she just said, you had to embrace the technology, right? It's been weird doing all these corporate meetings, budget presentations from home. I think that our biggest challenge moving forward is designing and creating what that workspace and work environment is going to look like moving forward. Having to work with people that are remote. Some people really don't enjoy that commute and have realized that they don't like the commute. What is that going to look like? And I think that being able to get out and engage with the community and engage with community leaders is something that we really have to figure out. I think we're going to be living with masks for a long time. I feel like that's going to be one of those normalized things. And I can tell you something, as a breakthrough COVID case after being vaccinated and being one of those people that fully vaccinated, 2 weeks later on the third week came home with COVID. Masks, not bad. Crossing the street, maybe put it on. But we're just going to have to be so careful, because we are going to have to be extra careful about people's health. But one of the things that my company and that I stress on my team is mental health and making sure that you're taking care of yourself. There's resources available for people at my company, and what are those resources available so that people are taking care of themselves and really looking after themselves. I think it could become very isolating, and sometimes you feel very alone. And a lot of times, because it wasn't just the pandemic, there were riots, there were situations that we had to deal with, and a lot of times, even for me, it felt really hopeless. So how do you dig yourself out of that hole? So I think it's creating that workplace of the future. What is that going to look like? What is interaction going to look like? And really protecting yourself, protecting and honoring yourself, and making sure that you're healthy.
Yeah, and thank you, Jose. The key word for me that popped out for me was design, right? Designing your own your space and your work environment or program. For us at the school side, it was a nightmare this year because it felt like we were designing every week. And I was listening to the news today with respect to what the CDC will be rolling out with respect to expectations for schools, with respect to social distancing or face coverings, and it's kind of all over the place. But
it's normal now. But think about this. On March 13th of 2020, I had to send anchors home with iPhones to do the news from their home. Now it doesn't seem as remarkable, right? But back then we had to recreate an entire infrastructure so that we could work remotely to really protect people. So and then when you think like, okay, fine, a TV station, but then you start thinking about school and you start thinking about learning and the impact that that has, the long-term effect that that has on our society, it's huge.
Yep. Childcare alone was a big challenge, right? And we just wrapped up the school year here about 2 weeks ago, and I finally get a chance to breathe and jump out of the water without drowning. And now we have to redesign what it's going to look like coming back. And we are held to standards at the federal, state, and local level. So I'm hopeful that they will come up with guidance soon so we can design. So thanks, Jose. And then the last comment you made around mental health is a big one too. Really just checking in with your loved ones, your colleagues, friends, neighbors to ensure everybody's doing okay, because it's hard to tell. People have that good poker face, right? And so just being cognizant of that. So thanks, Jose. Rosa, a question over to you with respect to personal challenges around how you identify and just the macro piece as well.
Imperial County continues to have an exodus of young LGBTQ leaders and potential entrepreneurs, and I don't blame them. Many of them leave to the big cities because there's a stronger LGBTQ community. There's more to do. One of the challenges that I'm facing right now, and I'm hoping to overcome, is expanding the center to where these young, bright LGBTQ starting professionals can get a job with us to provide mental health services. We don't have licensed personnel at the time. We'd go with volunteers and those who are certified, but we need to find a way to keep them, giving them a good position, a good pay, and helping them expand in their profession. We are currently located in a small building, and we are hoping to expand to other towns. Imperial County is when you go from one town to another, you go through miles and miles of fields and cattle and so on and so forth. So, transportation sometimes is an issue to many of our young consumers to come to the center in El Centro. Some of them live as far as 27 miles from here. Imperial County is very large, but at the same time, the towns are very separated. So there's a challenge there. How can we continue to grow, expand, provide jobs and services, professional services, and get those who are having a hard time coming to the center to get here? So it would be finding transportation, just being able to expand. Other nonprofits have done it in Imperial County, and I have faith that we can do it too.
Awesome, thanks, Rosa. And you mentioned an interesting topic that us here in California are dealing with respect to folks leaving California, businesses, individuals, and things like that. And just a couple of years ago, we had our convention with the California Hispanic Chambers in the Inland Empire area, and it was fantastic. I was, from Orange County, it's not too far from the Inland Empire. Don't visit very often, but when we were there, it was nice to see the growth. And so I hope, that continues to go in that direction as we move forward. Daniel, this last question for you, talk a little bit about your personal challenges, in the LGBTQ plus space or macro or anything you experienced.
I would say I go back to the business model. And you guys already mentioned mental health before. This past year has been very, very difficult as a business owner, since half of our business is really in the entertainment world, doing concerts and live events, and suddenly having half of your business stop. It was the most challenging thing. And now that things are reopening, we're back to the same space. We're very anxious about traveling again and making sure that all of our families get paid. And it's a very complex situation. It's not that simple to, this past year has been very challenging in many ways, but it is not that simple to get back on running and doing it all over again. There's so many rules and regulations, everything is changing. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. Nobody knows what the next concert is gonna be like. If we need to get tested, if we need to be vaccinated, if the teams have to be vaccinated. I lost some jobs because some of my team members were not vaccinated. It is just difficult. Hopefully things will get better, but at the moment that's what we're dealing with. A business landscape that is changing every day.
Gracias, Daniel. And I've got a couple of questions that came in the chat, and we've got about 8 minutes left, and they're directed at certain panelists. So the first one is, could Rosa share with us about her amazing organization and its work and how it's funded, I believe is how that question was read. So Rosa, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are funded through several grants that we continue to seek. We haven't landed a grant that is for several years. Usually our grants are 6 to 12 months. And we do have a grant committee that helps us out with that. We also we have an agreement with the Imperial County Behavioral Health Department where we do get reimbursed for some of the services that we provide. And we do a lot of fundraising and a lot of asking. So that is how we're funded right now. We started a domestic violence class where we do charge, which is court ordered. We're thinking about starting parenting classes as well as an anger management for youth that are not within the juvenile justice system, and that is non-existent. So by getting people who are certified and starting those programs, we are able to bring in some income, because these would be services that we would charge for. Outside of that, every other service that we provide, we do not charge. So therefore, that's why we write grants and we ask for sponsorships and donations.
Oh, thanks, Rosa. All right, next question está en español para Daniel. ¿Qué más se puede hacer en tu industria para cambiar lo que los demás pueden aceptar diversidad? So what else can you do in your industry to change the folks around you, I believe, to accept diversity?
Well, hay muchísimas cosas que se pueden hacer. Desde el punto de vista, y creo que tengo el privilegio de tener un micrófono y tener la atención de los medios de comunicación. Recientemente con la compañía Velázquez Press lanzaron un libro que se llama Boys Don't Cry, y es la historia de un joven inmigrante que está creciendo en las escuelas aquí en California y es abusado verbalmente por sus compañeros. Tal vez no lo entienden sus familias, sus maestros, y es básicamente la experiencia que muchos de nosotros tuvimos. Es importante que un libro como ese esté disponible en las escuelas, que los padres lo tengan, que los padres de niños que saben que son diferentes puedan entender que hay una vida llena de felicidad en el futuro para estos niños si es que se les acepta. Y por eso es de que estamos trabajando en eso, con esta compañía, tratar de promover un libro como ese.
Wow, pues a mí me encanta esa idea. ¿Y va a ser en inglés o español?
Ambos, está una versión en español y la versión en inglés.
Perfecto, nuestro programa es de doble inversión aquí en nuestra escuela. Okay, so last question, we've got 5 minutes. And so there was one question that came into the chat, and then I'm gonna tie it into the last question I had here. And so what comes next for you and any big projects? And Danielle already addressed one project. And then any final thoughts for our audience today? So we'll start with Betty.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
So what comes next for you? And then any final thoughts or projects that you've got coming up in the horizon?
Well, I just want to say thank you again. It's very eye-opening to talk to everybody. So I appreciate that. And it's given me some good ideas. So I appreciate that. Ironically, the project I'm working on, besides trying to get everybody back outside, is to revive our directory. We didn't have one last year, and we're changing the format so that it's something we can distribute more easily to a smaller format. And I know that sounds like a small thing, but I think it's always been important to get the word out. And we still believe in this won't just be electronic. Of course, print, it'll be electronic. I mean, it's important to get the names in front of everybody. And what we used to do is we would go participate in around 30 events a year and push the names out. And I don't know if there'll be 30 events this year, but we'll be there and representing our members and looking for new members. So I guess that's really all I have to say right now, but look forward to collaborating with some of the people I've met during COVID too, on the many calls I was on.
There was one question that came in at the very end. I'm going to add to the initial question about contacting you. I don't know if you are all on LinkedIn or if you're comfortable distributing emails. Michelle, I'm sure, can drop it in the chat box if there's a chat box, or we can just do a follow-up after the fact. And so, Jose, same question. Any last thoughts as we conclude today's program, or what comes next?
I think it goes back to what I said during my acceptance speech. Again, just listen to each other. Take the time to learn about the perspective. It's not always about you. There's always something going on with the other person, and you're going to learn something there if you allow yourself to be open to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Jose. Rosa, same question.
Yes, we definitely are looking into expanding our center and providing more services. For those of you that don't know, we do have, this is like a place, and this meaning there's an area in Imperial County called Slab City, and there's a lot of LGBTQ youth and adults who basically just want to run away from society, and they make Slab City a home. It's a place where there is no electricity, no running water, and basically no law enforcement. So this is where we want to help out. We don't, in Imperial County doesn't have a shelter specifically for LGBTQ youth and adults. And so if we could, and many people pass through here. You've read books, maybe even seen movies of young youth that have passed through here to get to their next location or even make this a home. We need a place to provide services, all kinds of services, from Alcoholics Anonymous to Narcotics Anonymous to mental health to HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy, just to be able to be a clinic or a place to give them an all-around service. And then the other thing, teach them to fish, because it's not just about giving them the fish, it's about teaching them to fish so that they can go out and be productive citizens in our county, in our country, actually. So that's the goal. That's where I'm at. I'm hoping that we can do that within the next decade.
Thanks, Rosa. What a fantastic way to close your remarks, with teaching people how to fish, right? Danielle, any last thoughts, parting comments?
Well, yeah, one of our plans, or big move that we have right now, is actually to expand our team. And as we mentioned before, it's very difficult to find qualified candidates. At the same time, I think it's a responsibility of ours to mentor young children. So I have 2 students from college, both of them LGBTQ, who are actually, we're starting to work together and making sure that they get the answers and the tools they need to succeed in business and in life.
Love it. Thank you, Danielle, for wrapping it up with mentorship. We at the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce have a huge that's a huge priority of ours. We have a CAPS program that we've been running for, I don't know, over a decade now at this point. And I think we have the largest cohort this year. So check us out on LinkedIn for content on there. So thanks everybody again for taking time to connect with us, be vulnerable, and just, you know, celebrate you, because you are the first in your region to receive the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce LGBTQ plus Business Initiative Award. We look forward to having you join us in the convention in the fall. And, you know, if you're on LinkedIn, I'm going to look for you there and we'll continue the conversation. So muchas gracias a todos y felicidades. Michelle, I don't know if you needed to grab a picture or whatnot. I'll take a quick screenshot if she needs it. So smile, everybody.
Thank you.
Listo. Okay. So thanks everyone out there in our audience for joining us this morning. And we thank you for your support with our first ever LGBTQ plus Business Initiative Awards event brought to you virtually this year. We're looking to have this in person as the years come ahead. So for any opportunities to collaborate with CHCC or to learn more about our initiatives, please email info@cahcc.com or call us at 916-444-2221. And with that, our program has come to an end. Thanks everybody. Have a fantastic week and weekend.
Thank you.